Welcome back to AI Today. I'm your host, Dr. Alan Badeau. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the elephant in the data center room. And really, that is the massive energy implications that this AI boom is really driving. And I've been taking a look. I've been following it since, really early 2024 when AI and the computational requirements really started to drive impact resources, those kind of things. And it really is a fascinating problem. We are talking about really the reshaping of what America's power grid is and what it needs to support. So if you take a look at, and I'll pull up a chart real quick so you can see what we're talking about. The demand from this AI surge is it's significant. Looking at power consumption and what a single large data center running these AI workloads could potentially consume, in a continuous manner is really significant. It's enough to power a small city, and facilities are being planned that they're even going to be larger. And I've heard 500 megawatts. I've heard more than that, some less, of course. But really, when you multiply this across the hundreds of facilities that are planned over the next 5 years, you start to see there's an issue, and it's a big issue. And until now, not a lot of folks have been talking about it. And at the same time, I'm excited that we're going to have that capability. But then I'm also really worried about the impacts that it can have on communities, states, and really everywhere in between. You can see in 2022, actually closer to 2020, we started to diverge a little bit. We were having some issues with the grid, and that's also the time that we had some storms that really impacted the power grid, and some winter effects, for instance, in Texas, that affected the grid down there. And you can see, though, the baseline that we have and that we're supporting today, it's not enough. You start to see things and have people talking in states talking about the potential for, rolling blackouts or, cuts in, the amount that you can have in your house and what you can use, and, the need for X, Y, and Z. And then you start to see, oh, this is why Amazon wanted to buy Reactor 4 at 3 Mile Island, or, where certain companies have started to make their own deals about, with nuclear power companies to be able to build their own data center, power, because that's where they're going to have to go get it. And just overall, we're looking at a huge increase, almost a 20% increase in the demand, over the next 5 years. That is massive. And folks, that's real. This is not hypothetical. This is looking at how much we consume versus how much we have available, and just doing the math. We're not talking about AI. You don't need AI to figure that out. You just need a spreadsheet. So the strain on the grid is real. And looking at capacity warnings that are coming out in regions that are already hitting some of their limits, it's pretty telling. Northern Virginia, like I said, some of the 70% of the internet traffic can go through there. But then utilities are also telling some new customers that, hey, they can't guarantee power until 2027. You think, oh, geez, that's a big investment. That's a risk. Phoenix, again, summer peak demand, 100 and some degrees. Vegas, same thing, 100 and some degrees. It pushes the power grid already to its limits. Put a couple of data centers out there, and then you really have some challenges. West Virginia, same sort of thing. Was one of the only states as of 5 years ago that had a surplus of power. Not anymore, because now they're shipping it to other states to help with that. you start to do the math, and we see that although you're seeing a surge in the data center sector and the building sectors and the AI sectors, the utility sector is not keeping up. There's a lot of different reasons behind that, but this renaissance that should be taking place, it's not moving fast enough. And companies are trying to invest in getting things built, but you don't build a nuclear power plant in 6 months. It's not like a McDonald's. You can't start on a Friday and go through the drive-through on Monday. It doesn't work that way. And you have to pay attention to that, because it's starting to really impact what people are forecasting, what budgets are looking like, what systems they can do, what AI you can do, how you can optimize power and storage and the consumption, and all those other things are starting to converge. We've always talked about that. I've always told you that AI is affected by so many other ancillary technologies that it only takes one or two to slow down what our ability to really lead the world is going to be. And you can see that same sort of thing as we look at state consumption, city consumption. There's just not enough. And it doesn't matter if you're in Portland or Northern Virginia. Now, natural gas, thank goodness, is a huge win. It's helping. It's playing a huge role. And I've been to natural gas plants before and seen how they can really help a data center. Personally, I have a generator that is powered by natural gas. When there's no electricity, guess what? I've got natural gas. It powers my generator. That's great. That can help. But of course, at the expense of what? The environment. That's just the bottom line. And so there's always going to be a winner with these types of opportunities, but there's also going to be, unfortunately, losers, especially at the rate that we're trying to do these sort of things. And, looking at the new add-on, and again, this is just simple math, folks. Over the next 5 years, we are nowhere near where we really need to be. That's really going to require every single way that we can generate power to see advances. It's not, nuclear is not the silver bullet. It's not going to fix everything tomorrow. Coal, same thing, not going to fix everything tomorrow. So we've got to do a lot better when it comes to that. But then also our transmission lines are, the backbone of the grid are not where they need to be, right? Geez, in some locations, if the wind blows a little bit, your power goes out. Well, if you're paying that much for a data center, that's a problem. Because the last thing you want is $1 million computers that don't have a steady source of juice as they're trying to run. Nightmare scenarios. So we've got to look at those things, and we've got to figure out ways that we can do that. And again, as I've said, it's also cooling. It's not just the power going into it. It's these data centers require more than just that. And trying to figure out ways that you can do things a little bit different. I was part of a study that tried to build a data center in Alaska because we knew we could keep it cold. It did pretty well. However, there was a lot of investment that had to go in there because, getting people up there, getting equipment up there, getting things to some of those locations, it's not cheap either. And a lot of different driving factors around those types of things. Now, if you look at really where we are just overall, from smart grids to all those things in between, there's a lot of ongoing investment that's taking place. Now, again, that is fantastic. Trying to look at efficiencies, trying to look at improvements that we can make, trying to do better from, cooling innovations. all that is going to require, some human juice to help with that, and brain power. Those create opportunities for small businesses. And so what I am telling folks is, and why I want to bring this up to you is that there are opportunities out there, whether they are at the local level, whether they're at the state level, or whether at the design, the manufacturing, the building of the data centers, the everything in between that goes in there. There are opportunities for folks that have innovative ideas to really take advantage of that. And so you have to pay attention to it. You can't just look at it from a broad brush and say, I don't want to do anything in the data center area. Because again, like AI, you are talking about hundreds of different segments, of different specialties, of different opportunities, and you have to take a look at those. Even on the grid modernization piece, there are opportunities for you to take advantage of that. Our grid is old. We've been talking about this for years, and the utility companies are starting to deploy smarter grid technology, sensors, edge sensors, AI managed systems that can handle some of these new demands, meaning that it can smart route power to different locations. But if you think about it, it's a little ironic, right? Because we're using AI to manage the grid that powers the AI. Interesting thought. So that does look at things from a different point of view, because then it starts to say, okay, competition among states, regional disparities are really starting to emerge. So states with abundant power, favorable regulations, they're winning the data center race. It's pretty clear. South Dakota, North Dakota, West Virginia, North Carolina, great places to build data centers. Texas, even in some cases, Oklahoma, all those states that have looked at those regulations over the years and really handled it, they are leading. I'm seeing an exodus though of power constrained markets. And, I don't have to call those out. We know where they are. But it is a challenge. They're missing out on some job opportunities. They're missing out on, some opportunities to really, cash in for their citizens. And it could be, it's not just regulations. Okay. It's other things that go along with that. But that's just what I'm seeing. And so as we continue to think that AI is changing the economy, there's everything else that's supporting it that is impacting it as much, or maybe even some cases like the data center work more, because that hits all facets of our citizens, whether you're an engineer down to somebody that is building, a construction worker. It's impacting everybody the same. It's creating opportunities, and some folks are just missing out on those economic opportunities that are there. Now, governors, and I've talked to some of the governors, and to try to get their perspective on it, every single one of them says that their state is the place to build data centers, but just the numbers don't lie, right? Where the money is, follow the money. That's what we always say, right? Follow the money. You'll be able to see who's leading and who's not. Well, if you want to know where the future is with these economic opportunities, it's easy. Follow the money. You can very easily see who the winners are and who the losers are. I have talked to many governors, and they all say the same thing. Come to our state. Our state's the best. We've got the best opportunities for these data centers to flourish, and X, Y, and Z, and we'll give incentives, or our incentives are better. But the realities are that companies know they're going to go where they can get the best deal, and we know who's winning, what states are winning, what economies are really flourishing from this data center growth boom, And we also know the sectors, though, that are losing. And it's really around the environmental impacts and those things. And it's always going to be a give and take. And we'll have to see what the outcome is going to look like. But if you stay with us, we'll be back after some messages from our sponsors. In the next segment, we're going to talk about that. So stay with us. We'll be right back.